Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we'll talk about the next full moon in Taurus on November 15, a moon in exaltation, a moon in conjunction with Uranus, and in conjunction with star Algol. This moon is very important since it will accompany, so to speak, the planet Pluto towards its final ingress in the zodiac sign of Aquarius. And for this reason, we can definitely say that this moon is gonna give us a good jolt. We are now in the very heart of fall. We are in Scorpio season. So I want to highlight the importance here of turning on, rekindle, so to speak, an inner light within us to cross the darkness of the season, which, as we know, is ruled by Archangel Michael. So this is the picture of the chart, but as always, let's start from the last changes in the sky. On November 3rd, we had Mercury entered Sagittarius, and this is great because Mercury and Jupiter are creating a mutual reception. That is a super good configuration, even though this axis is not activated by the chart of this full moon in particular. The following day, November 4, we have Mars entering Leo, and this is a very important transit because Mars started slowing down because it will turn retrograde in December, and we're going to talk about it in a dedicated video. Then on November 11, we have Venus entering Capricorn, and Venus, she is the ruler of this full moon in Taurus. On November 15, we have Saturn changing direction, turning direct again. And on November 20th, here we go, we're going to have Pluto definitely entering Aquarius for good. And this is very important because it will help us understand the dynamics of this chart, of this full moon in particular. So we mentioned that this moon is going to accompany Pluto in its new sign. And this is something important because we're going to have this passage under a full moon in conjunction with the planet of Aquarius, which is Uranus. So this is a full moon. So as always, a full moon is the peak, the culmination of the process of manifestation of the etheric forces of the earth. And in particular, we're talking about the manifestation process, which began with the last new moon in Scorpio of November 1st. So in general, it is a moment of retrospect, of reviewing the past as the light is shed in the darkness of the night. It is also a moment of awakening, and that is going to definitely involve this dynamics of social justice, if not even rebellion, described by the chart, as we're going to see. But on the positive side, it is a good time for awareness, liberation, also release, and purification, especially spiritual purification, as we're going to talk about later on, talking about the spiritual significations of the chart. So this gestation of the new impulses begins because we are now having this waning phase of the moon starting as we approach the next new moon in Sagittarius happening on December 1st. So let's take a look at the chart in detail. We have the moon here in Taurus at 24 degrees Taurus, in particular in the stereo image of Taurus as well. So as we said, it is in exaltation, in close conjunction with Uranus, and unfortunately in close conjunction with star Algol. Algol is Ras Al Ghul, the head of the ghoul, which is a demon, or the pulsing eye of the head of Medusa, the Gorgon. And we can say that is definitely one of the most noxious stars in the sky. The sun is here, of course, in the opposite degree. So we have 24 degrees Scorpio. And as you can see in the chart, the opposition between the luminaries is closed by a beautiful cradle configuration. So this is the cradle. And the cradle, as you can see, is formed by sun and moon. And then we have Neptune in Pisces and, of course, Pluto in Capricorn. But as we mentioned, Pluto in Capricorn, not for long. In fact, Pluto will enter Aquarius the 20th, just 5 days later. So as you can see, talking about Pluto, we still have going on the opposition between Mars and Pluto. Here it is. Now, Mars is at 3 degrees 26 Leo, and as we mentioned, is slowing down more and more as it will become retrograde in December. In fact, the opposition will reappear because, of course, getting back to the first degrees of Leo and the last degrees of Cancer, this opposition will reappear between 2024 and 2025. We also want to note that in this chart, the role of Mars has changed. It is reversed if compared to the two previous moons. In fact, now this Mars in Leo opposes the cradle configuration and opposes basically Pluto, which is instead a part of the cradle. So this means that it is Mars, the villain, so to speak, of the chart. Lastly, the full moon being in Taurus is ruled by Venus. So not only Mars, we also want to keep an eye on Venus. And where is Venus? Venus is quite isolated in the chart, being all alone in Capricorn, and we will see what this entails. So let's tackle the meanings of the chart, starting from a physical perspective. So the first signification here that we can definitely highlight is that of sudden revelations. Why is that? Well, this is because, first of all, this is a full moon, and a full moon brings light, of course. And this full moon is in the zodiac sign of manifestation itself, the zodiac sign of nature. And nature is all about manifesting the spirit, right? And that is Taurus. And on top of that, this full moon is in conjunction with Uranus, which is like a lightning bolt, bringing this sudden flash of light, revealing everything that is hidden. So we have here revelations, but revelations about what? About what the Taurus Scorpio axis is representing, right? So it represents the economic and financial axis. So we're talking about banks, insurance companies, the stock market, and given the presence of Uranus, we can definitely add cryptocurrencies as well. Now, these revelations hold the potential to be very, very destabilizing. Why is that? Of course, because we have number one, Uranus, which is all about sudden change, and the star Algol. So in particular, we can explore better what this entails because we can look at Venus, the ruler of the full moon, to see what she is doing. And Venus is in Capricorn here, right? All alone in Capricorn. So from a physical perspective, this could refer to maneuvers or disclosures that lead the people to a certain austerity. What I mean with austerity is restriction in terms of abundance, represented precisely by Capricorn. So in this sense, we want to look for the government. We want to identify the government. And where is the government? The government is represented here by Mars in Leo. And not only the government, we have also the financial elites, the so-called plutocracies, and so on. All these things represented by the ruling class, which is, of course, represented by Leo. So what's going to happen here? We have Pluto, which, again, is about to enter Aquarius, right? And what does it mean? It means that the people, which in mundane astrology are always represented by the moon is in exaltation, the people is in exaltation. That is, it gets excited, especially because it is in conjunction with Uranus. And the trine of Pluto in Aquarius, for this reason, can definitely trigger the people. It can definitely trigger revolts, protests, riots, and so on. And we also want to point out that Algol could metaphorically make the people lose their head, lose their mind, right? This is because the symbolism of the star is precisely that. It's that of a severed head. It is the severed head of the Medusa held by Perseus, right? So on top of that, I want to remind you that Pluto in Aquarius was the fundamental transit of the French Revolution. And of course, speaking about severed heads, right? So what kind of revolts are we talking about here? They are protests against governments, as well as the banking, insurance, and financial companies, cryptocurrencies as well. They could also involve the farming industry. Why the farming industry? Because we have Taurus, the zodiac sign of nature and farming. So protest movements in this sense could come back. And we also have the green movement, of course, which is about issues regarding the climate change, especially given what happened recently with the floods in Europe, both in Italy and Spain. Lastly, we also want to add that from a physical perspective, this configuration here is unfortunately very compatible with strong earthquakes, so we want to keep that in mind. Talking about a psychological perspective, it is, in my opinion, essential here, first and foremost, not to lose our mind, not to lose our head because of the star Algol. This means not to get too carried away, too involved by the masses, and by their excessively sudden impulses of revolution, basically. And from this perspective, the cradle configuration can help quite a lot because it is a very mitigating configuration. If, in my opinion, we manage to tune into the compassion offered by the sextile of Neptune. The sextile is very, very good and can make us quite compassionate. So in this regard, it can help to stabilize this rush on the one hand. On the other, we have the contribution of the earth element. Unfortunately, we cannot count on the earth provided by the moon because the moon, yes, it is in Taurus, a quite stable zodiac sign, but the conjunctions are preventing the moon to do that. But if we look at Venus, we can count on Venus in Capricorn here to stabilize a little bit what's going on. So what is Venus doing in Capricorn? So Venus in Capricorn is all about choosing and loving whatever Capricorn represents. So it represents the hermitage, retreating in the mountain, and retreating in the silence of these snowy peaks represented by Capricorn. And it is also interesting to note that Venus is all alone in the chart, so she is retreating alone in the Capricorn mountain, thus preventing all the chaos, all the drama, all the madness of the world from touching her. So this gesture of detachment and withdrawal of Venus is very good. It can help us, especially because it allows us to unplug, right? To unplug and to process our emotions, to experience what we're feeling. In particular, to process, I would say, anger against the elite, against the powerful, which is an emotion that can come quite natural, quite easy in front of injustice, right? So instead of channeling all this anger in a destructive way, we can channel it in a good, positive way, helping others, resonating through compassion. And here I am again referring to the contribution of Neptune. And this could also involve the arts. Why not? As a powerful vehicle to convey messages. The art, especially with Venus, right? And in my opinion, usually in difficult times, we have photography in particular that can become a very strong medium. I think we all remember very touching and powerful shots taken by photographers during dramatic events that are capable of telling a whole story just through a single image, right? So I think that art can definitely help to convey positive messages that are capable of resonating with our sense of compassion. So let's talk now about the spiritual meanings of the chart, because the moon, the full moon, is shining with Uranus in the starry image of Taurus. Now, in astrosophy, this constellation is connected to the forces of the Holy Spirit. That is the force of spiritual love that is breathing and living between the Father and the Son, connecting them, right? It is a force that is capable of acting through light, divine light, shining on the human soul, penetrating the astral body of the human being. And through this light, the Holy Spirit is capable of purifying perfectly the astral body. So by purifying the astral body, the Holy Spirit prepares the soul to welcome the solar forces, the forces of the Christ. And this purified astral body, capable of welcoming Christ in anthroposophy, corresponds to the principle of the goddess Isis-Sophia, the divine wisdom. Now, the transformed and purified astral body in anthroposophy is called the spiritual self, and the planet of the spiritual self, according to Willis Zucker, is precisely Uranus. So we have the picture of the Holy Spirit, we have the light of the full moon, the light of the Holy Spirit that is capable of transforming the astral body into spiritual self through the aid of the planet itself of spiritual self, that is Uranus. So while on the physical plane, the fight breaks out, on the spiritual level, we have the image of Isis shining from the constellation of Taurus, which, by the way, is the constellation of the ancient Egyptian cultural epoch. You know that we have the astrological eras, right? And so the ancient Egyptian cultural epoch corresponds to the constellation of Taurus. And this Isis-Sophia impulse is opening up the soul to the possibility of this strong purification. Purification from what? From the forces of the villain that this time is represented by Mars. And Mars is here shining in the constellation of Cancer. And Cancer is the constellation of materialism, and after the event of Golgotha, of the redemption of materialism. So this means that this Isis-Sophia impulse calls us to purify from our astral body materialism from our soul, right? Now, if we look at the cradle configuration here, this is quite beautiful because it forms a cup, right? And this cup, if we take the opposite constellation, as we can see, this cup is welcoming down on a planetary level the forces of this constellation, which is Leo. And Leo in astrosophy is connected to the forces of the heart, inspired by the world of the angels. And what do the angels have to do with all of this? So the angels are the carriers of the seeds of Manas, which is the transformed astral body. So until we're not capable of purifying fully by ourselves our astral body, the angels are carrying this impulse for us. So for this reason, the chart from the spiritual point of view is asking us to retreat, as Venus is doing, and to concentrate on our efforts on a spiritual purification of the astral body through the help of the higher worlds, especially the world of the angels. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.